Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you once again for tuning in. As I always say, I'm so grateful for all of you, and it's because of you that we're trending and we're ranked in the top 100 in mental health of all the podcasts out there, which blows my mind. But it's not because of me. It's because of the amazing guests I have come on. They get vulnerable. They talk about their lives and the things that they've been through. I do have to give a special shout out to our sponsors, Siegfried and Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, Thread Wallets, Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics, Living Recovery Interventions, and First Digital. Thank you for believing in me and making this all possible. And today is going to be an awesome episode, as they always are. And we're joined by Casdon Jardine. Casdon, thank you for being with us.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I do have to say we've already had your wife on the show, probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And it was really, well received. So no pressure on you.
Oh, I know she's the better half. So just discretion to everybody. This will be worse than my wife's show.
No, I'm sure it'll be great. But no, Casdon, I'm grateful to have you on. We have a lot of similar interests and similar backgrounds. So I think this is just going to be great. You were born and raised in Twin Falls, Idaho. You're the youngest of 4 kids. You dedicated the majority of your life to the game of basketball. That's where you and I can really relate a lot. You always loved the grind and working to be the best you could be. You had a state championship in high school. You went to 3 different D1 universities, and basketball is a really an awesome tool for you to grow and mature in your life. You served an LDS mission. You love to take challenges head on. Again, we mentioned your wife, Savvy. She works for Good Things Utah, and she's an amazing person, and she spoke very highly of you, obviously. And one thing that I've learned about you is that you're never satisfied. You're always looking for the most out of life, and out of all the the basketball, all the great accomplishments there, and getting a bachelor's or master's degree, that's not the most important thing to do. And the most important thing is your wife and the family you're going to build and build. Because that's going to be the most important thing to you. So I really appreciate that, and I think that's you got your priorities straight. It sounds like.
Try to, yeah.
And so why don't we start, Casdon? Thank you for, like I said, joining us. But why don't we start with where did you grow up?
Yep.
How was your childhood, and what was it like being the youngest of 4?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, like you said, I was born in Twin Falls, Idaho. Born and raised there. Small town to me. I thought it was a super small town until I met my wife and I went to visit where she's from.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in a place that was about 45,000 people at the time, and my wife's from a place about 1,000 people. So
that's way small.
Different definitions of small town, but definitely enjoyed growing up there. It was all I knew. Like I said, basketball has kind of been my life ever since I was a little kid. I'm the youngest of 4. All of my siblings, athletes and basketball, volleyball, a little bit of football, a little bit of baseball, but primarily basketball has been our family focus. So I can't ever remember a time when I started playing basketball. I just remember being in the gym at siblings games and being the annoying tag-along sibling. I feel like I've kind of always had the mindset of I've had to prove myself. And, kind of, especially basketball wise, being compared to older siblings has always been the normal.
Because you've got other brothers have been very successful at basketball. And
which doesn't make it any less annoying. But, it was just the reality of the situation, and it was something that I always took as a challenge. So, growing up in Twin Falls, majority of the people there and everyone seems to know you, especially when you're the youngest of a successful family in athletics in that area. But growing up there was good. It was all I knew. I didn't know about any of these big cities or big places at the time until I started playing traveling basketball, and we were going to Vegas and Anaheim and Seattle, doing all those things. And then, basketball just became a love of mine, and I saw it as an opportunity to set myself up for the future. And so it became more of an investment in myself. It seemed like,
for sure,
you know,
yeah.
like if I want to have schooling paid for, then I better
Yeah.
be good enough if
Right.
I want to, you know, get those things done. So that's kind of how my childhood was. You know, I grew up very, you know, strong and active in the LDS faith, you know, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and had great examples in every aspect of my life in regards to that. I felt like I had, you know, great morals and principles instilled in me from a young age, not only from my family, but from friends and, you know, the church organization.
Sure.
So I was always really grateful for that.
Yeah.
And it, you know, helped me to, as I continued in my basketball career and, you know, through high school, to make the decision to go on a mission and things of that matter.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, just a kid from Twin Falls, Idaho, who's still trying to figure life out, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. When you look back on your childhood, what were some of maybe the biggest lessons you learned, like maybe even from your own parents?
Mm-hmm.
You know, obviously you were very active in sports and things, but what were some of maybe the principles that they taught you that's really helped you?
I mean, I don't know why this is the first thing that comes to mind, but I can hear my mom's voice saying, "You're not going to be a dumb jock." That was always something that was instilled early on, that you can play sports, you can be great at it, but you know, you're going to be an intelligent, respectful young man, you know? So, I mean, I was held to a high standard in regards to the way that I carried myself, especially in the classroom, you know, at school. So, you know, I actually ended up being valedictorian of my high school.
Really?
So
Wow.
there was a few of us
That's
because
amazing.
we all had 4.0s or whatever it was. But, so, I mean, that was something I prided myself in as well. And I think that, you know, something as the youngest is there's always a standard for you, you know, like you're always compared to others, whether intentionally or not. It happens.
It's kind of a natural thing. That
exactly.
Happens, right.
If you want to do what your older brother did, then you'd better work this hard. Or if you want to, you know, do this, then you have to do that. And, you know, and you're expected to have good grades too, you know? So I was always striving to do those things, and naturally, you know, good things came of them, but it was just a constant thing that you kind of have to unpackage at some point of like, okay, now I'm done with college, I'm done with basketball. So like, now what do I compare myself to?
Yeah.
You know, like now what am I striving towards? So that's been an adjustment for me too.
Was that ever overwhelming? Like just knowing the comparisons were there, and did you feel pressure? Like, was it a stressful time for you, or was it more of like, no, I like this, let me, you know, bring it on?
I'm sure that there were times that it did seem stressful and a little bit overwhelming, but as a kid especially, I was like annoyingly outgoing. Like I had a very loud personality. I was probably overcompensating for being the youngest, you know, like just wanting to be heard. You know?
Right.
But so I always took it as a huge challenge. And, you know, someone said like, are you going to be as good as your brother? I'm going to be way better. You know, are you going to be as smart as your sister? No, I'm going to be smarter. You know, like it was always as a kid, I never recall being like, guys, can you please stop comparing me to my, you know, that just was never a thing for me. But you know, like I'm sure that's played into a lot of, you know, a lot of the things that are good things about me, and a lot of my, you know, insecurities that I still struggle with today. So,
yeah. Wow. Well, and the reason why I asked that question is, you know, I've interviewed, you know, a lot of people who have been the youngest. Yeah. And at times they had mentioned, man, it's tough to sometimes even keep up with making sure I'm hanging with my, you know, family and my siblings and what they were doing. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So when did you know you were really good at basketball?
To be honest, I had a good high school basketball team. I mean, I might have been the best player on the team, you know, but at the time, like I didn't even feel like I was anything super special. Like we had a good team. And you know, I was 6'5", 175 pounds soaking wet my senior year of high school. So I was tall and I was really skinny, and I really had almost zero interest in regards to colleges looking at me.
Really?
The only school that I had an actual offer from was the College of Southern Idaho, which is a junior college in my hometown.
Yeah.
And they were like, go on your mission, do your thing. We got a spot for you when you come back. Like, we'd love to see you. We'd love to have you. And, I kind of took it as like well, I guess, I don't have anything else right now. But at the time, I didn't commit or anything.
Right.
So I went on my mission, and about, 6 months into my mission, I had conversation with my dad over email. And it was kind of like just a real conversation. And he was kind of like, is this something you want? Like, do you want to play basketball?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to come back and do this? And I was like, at the time when I left, I wasn't sure, but about 6 months into my mission, I was like craving basketball. Like, I was missing it so much,
Really?
being in Brazil where it was all soccer and no basketball. Like, it was the first like real break and time away from basketball. So I was like, no, I want to play. And he's like, well, you got to get serious about getting bigger. Like, you have to get bigger while you're out there.
Yeah.
So, my body finally decided that, like, okay, let's grow. So
right.
aside from from the spiritual blessings and my testimony of the mission, I also grew 1.5 inches while I was in Brazil and put on 45 pounds. So I came back at 6'7", 220. Wow. And then I was going to the College of Southern Idaho. I went there for a year prior to the 3D ones that I played for. Yeah. And it was kind of a humbling, but also like eye-opening experience to me, because at this point, we hadn't even played a game yet. Not even a game at CSI, and I was getting blown up. I had like 13 D1 offers before we even played a game. So
they probably heard you grew an inch.
And so the coaching staff at CSI, especially, he's been a mentor of mine for a long time. Shelby Lindley, he coached me in AAU, and then he was an assistant coach at CSI. So he believed in me.
He knew, And
he's like, let's take a chance. Let's take a chance on him. Who knows what could happen? Yeah. And then I come back way bigger, way stronger, and then the whole staff there was great about getting me recruited. And it was at that moment when I was at CSI, when I was able to take all of the skill that I had with this body that I had now, that I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I can go play D1. I can make it work. Like, I deserve to be there. Whereas prior to the mission, it was probably a little bit of a, you always kind of feel a little bit like, am I good enough to make it? Will I make it? You have all that self-doubt, but that was when it actually felt like it was like self-actualized. So It was cool.
That's way cool. CSI,
College of Southern Idaho.
And they're the ones that were pretty famous for baseball, right? Weren't they like amazing at baseball?
Yeah, they've been a good baseball program for years. Basketball program's been very solid. They're in the same conference as Snow and Salt Lake Community College, and it's a good conference.
Well, this is, maybe you don't know this, but remember Dennis Johnson, who played for the Boston Celtics? Of
course.
So his little brother played up there basketball.
I didn't know that
at CSI, and and he was famous for, this guy had like a 48-inch vertical leap.
Wow.
It was insane. And so at the time I was down at Dixie.
Okay.
And he came and played like an exhibition game or something. It wasn't an official game. But we were watching him jump out of the gym. But anyway, that's how I got to know about that. And then my friend played baseball up there as well. So I kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah. So you serve your mission before you actually start playing. Let's go back to the mission just for a minute, though. Because, again, obviously the spiritual blessings and the things you learn and that kind of thing in that area. But what were maybe some of the life lessons that you pulled from your mission that helped you actually even in basketball as well?
Yeah, I think, for me, I think the biggest perspective change life-wise was there are so many people in the world that have it way worse than you do. Especially us being in the United States, where we're so blessed with the freedoms especially in a time right now where there's just so much crap going on in the world, and there's so much negativity about the country that we live in, and this, that, and whatever. I always look back to the blessings that we have and the blessings that we hold dear and we take for granted
Yeah.
to live in this country.
Sure.
You know, to see people, you know, accept the gospel and to be so excited to learn about Jesus Christ as they have, you know, dirt floors, lean-to roofs, you know, like it was so humbling because it was just such a perspective change for me, you know, coming from small town Idaho where I never really even saw poverty. I never even, you know, like everyone, even the poor, the lower income where I would have been, you know, kings where the poor were in Brazil. And so it was just such an eye-opening experience, and I'll be forever grateful for that because, you know, you're always able to keep things in perspective of there are so many people who would kill to be in your situation right now, especially me as I was going back to basketball, like to go to a university and to be so blessed to be on scholarship and
have your school paid for
and food and housing, you know, like stop complaining about this workout. Like you have to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym. So be it. Okay. Like you remember where you were, you remember what those people were living like, you know, be grateful. Yeah. So I feel like it's always been a humbling thing and helps me to refocus on being grateful for the things that we have. Yeah,
no, that's beautifully said, Casdon. Thank you. You know, so you serve your mission, you come back, you start playing basketball. Mm-hmm. How did you find your way to UVU?
Sure.
Utah Valley University.
Yeah. So I came home from the mission. I played it 1 year at CSI. I graduated with my associate's degree, which, you know, was cool at the time, but didn't really
doesn't do much for me at the time.
Yeah. So then from there, I had committed and had signed to go play with Boise State University, and so they're in the Mountain West Conference. You know, really great school. Yeah. I was in their business management program, and so I went there, and my year at Boise State. I mean, just to be honest, I hated it.
Really?
Like the basketball aspect of it, like I was just miserable. I had completely lost my love for the game. I went from being my happiest ever playing basketball at CSI to like, what, I think I'm done. I think I might just quit. You know, I was recruited to come in and play a role to be a player for them. And then when I was there, I really clashed with an assistant coach.
Oh, okay.
And it got to the point where it wasn't even basketball related anymore. It was just, it seemed like I was getting ridiculed for what I was doing outside of practice, for me as the person I was, you know. And
almost like something against you, had nothing to do with basketball.
And so, and you know, and I know that, you know, some people will be like, oh, that's just a cop out because he wasn't playing, you know, but really, like, you can be happy and still be a member of that team, you know,
when something's off.
Exactly. And so while I was there, you know, like I was just miserable, and I'd made up my mind that about halfway through the season that I'm like, I'm not coming back here next year. Whether I keep playing or not, I don't know yet, but I'm not coming back here for another year. So I decided to, once the season was over, to put my name in the transfer portal. And from there, Utah Valley University started to recruit me.
Okay.
And they recruited me prior to going to Boise State as well. And that was the whole coaching staff of Mark Pope and all of those awesome guys who are now at BYU. Yeah. So I end up, you know, going on a visit. It's great. Commit to Utah Valley. And at the time, the Division I transfer rules were if you transferred D1 to D1, you had to redshirt a year, sit out a year. So then I transferred to Utah Valley. I get there as a redshirt. So, you know, you're on the team. Right. I was on scholarship, big blessing. But like you do everything but play in the game. So you practice, you've got weights, you've got extra workouts, you know, school, same thing as everyone else, but you don't play in the games. For those of you who don't know what a red shirt is.
Right. Yeah.
And so I do that whole year. I get way better. I get my confidence back. Like I'm so excited to be playing basketball at this university with this coaching staff, you know, that was so positive and fed your confidence. And then end of that redshirt season, they all leave and go to BYU. So
you're like, what?
Yeah. So I'm literally like, can I not catch a break? Like, holy cow. So at that point, you know, like everything's out of my control again, and we get a whole new coaching staff that comes in. Great people, great coaching staff. It was a lot of those coaches' first year in Division I basketball. Yeah. And so a lot of growing pains, but I had a great year. personally, basketball wise.
Sure.
I had a great season that year, and then the end of that season, I graduated with my bachelor's in business management, and I had another year to play still, another year of eligibility. And so at that point, I was like, you know what? I feel like Boise State didn't go how I thought it was going to go. UVU didn't go how I thought it was going to go. Like, I'm just going to take it upon myself to make my final year of basketball be like what I want it to be.
Yeah.
So I went into the transfer portal and then ended up going to the University of Hawaii to play my last year of college basketball and to get my master's degree.
Yeah.
So
master's in science and finance.
Yep. Finance.
Just when I read that makes me go, whoa.
I mean,
it sounds like, wow, that sounds hard.
It was very intense. You know, it was 6 to 9 p.m. every night. And the craziest part about my master's program, I was at the University of Hawaii playing basketball and never once stepped in a classroom or the library or any other facility on campus other than the gym because it was COVID year.
Oh, that's right.
So I did a whole master's program on Zoom.
Oh my goodness.
And so, you know, like that was, it was very intense.
Yeah. Your Sabby talked a lot about that, just the experience in Hawaii and how also how intense it was for her, just kind of being locked down and we're here in Hawaii and that kind of thing. So I can imagine how challenging that had to have been.
Yeah. It was incredible. But also extremely difficult. And, you know, like that was a huge growing time for my wife and I, especially in our relationship. Like we were just newlyweds. We got married a month and a half. We, you know, shotgun weddinged because of COVID to get it all done before, you know, all the temples closed. So,
we
shotgun wedding, we jump it forward like a month and a half, 2 months. And then we moved to Hawaii. And then like, I'm the busiest like I've ever been. So I'm going to weights, to practice, to, you know, study hall, to then straight on to my 3-hour Zoom courses every night. So I'm literally going from 8 in the morning until 9:30 at night. Yeah. And she's trapped.
She's like, just trapped.
She's literally trapped in the house.
Wow.
You know, and so we saw a lot of conflict there because, you know, it was so hard for us to like have sympathy or empathy for each other of like, I was losing my mind because she was so upset about what I would have loved to have been doing. Like I would have loved to have just been sitting in that house doing nothing because, you know, physically and mentally I was just so drained.
Oh, I can imagine.
And then at the same time, she would have been absolutely floored to be doing what I was doing, you know? So I feel like that's something that was huge for us in regards to growth, that like, first of all, we have to communicate extremely effectively as we go through struggles individually because like we're a team now at this point. Yeah. And, you know, so it was awesome. Like growing with her in Hawaii, like that'll go down as, you know, definitely one of the best years of my life just because it was so special and it was so individual to us. Like it was really just us out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think about it when we go through something hard and like you said, even though it was so hard, it ended up being so great.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's about. It's like, I have this philosophy that life happens for us versus to us.
Sure.
And, you know, as hard as that was, look what it did for you guys. And you're probably 10 times closer because of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, where you wouldn't have been had you not gone through that maybe, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, from my biggest takeaway from my whole college basketball experience, like from the JUCO to Boise to UVU to Hawaii to a COVID year after COVID year, you know, like... Jeez. All you can do in life is control what you can control. Yeah. Like that's like seriously my number one way of living is control what I can control because I actually saw a quote. I can't remember what it was exactly word for word, but it said like someone becomes extremely dangerous when they stop caring about what other people think and things that are out of their control. Wow. Like that person becomes very dangerous. Like they can accomplish a lot or they can, you know, continue to progress in life because I feel like majority of the time we find ourselves getting so, you know, beaten down and so frustrated with things that you literally can't do anything about. Yeah. You know, like was it extremely, extremely frustrating to have 0 people in the gym my whole senior year of basketball? Like absolutely. Like my wife who moved to Hawaii with me, and couldn't come to the games in Hawaii. She had to watch them online.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that was maddening, but at the same time, like, is it worth it for me to spend this, have this mental battle, or to be so frustrated, or to get upset because there's nothing we can do about it? When the government's involved, when, state mandates are involved.
Sure.
And, I feel like, and that was a big turning point for me, like at Boise State too. Like, I can't control how people are going to treat me. Like, I really can't. I can't control the situation I'm going to be in. I can't control if a whole coaching staff decides to leave.
Yeah.
So time after time, it was like, why do I have no control over this situation? When in reality, I just had to look at it from a different perspective and exclude the things that I had no control over, and really focus on my things that were tangibly mine to control.
Right.
Boy,
that's very wise that you had that awareness about all that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
Become dangerous. I like that.
I mean, I saw that quote and I sent it to my wife because it was something that was, because my wife is very different. My wife is like, we are so different in so many different ways.
Right.
She is the most loving, caring, empathetic, there for you, catch you when you're down. Like, she is she's honestly the best person I know.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better. I'm getting better, but I was definitely not that way. Like, I was very, don't feel it, get in the gym. Don't worry about it, get in the gym. Or, like, he said what? Okay, I don't care. I'm moving on. So that was a big rift for us in our relationship as well. She's like, I need you to feel feel with me. Like, I need you to talk to me about your feelings. I'm like, what? Talking about feelings got me ridiculed as a child. Talking about feelings gets you shamed on the basketball court.
Oh, totally.
So like, from my upbringing to my background, like, I'm not going to talk to you about my feelings.
You don't have that,
So, but I mean, when it comes down to it, and it's something that, she needed, and it's something that I also needed to do to grow, it ended up being a really positive thing for us, for me to affect her so that she was able to focus more on controlling the things that she could control, but also her to affect me, that I need to let things affect me a little bit and be okay with working through those things, because I think if you're a polar opposite in either direction, you're going to put yourself in very difficult situations.
Right.
In her regard, if you find yourself always bending over backwards for everyone and always feeling so much for everyone, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment that they're not showing up for you.
For sure.
And then for me, it was like, if I don't share and if I don't let my wife in, there's going to be a rift between us, because I'm going to be angry, or
there won't be a connection.
Exactly.
Yeah, the connection's gone.
I was making it so I was never giving anyone an opportunity to pick me up, because I was fine. I'll figure it out. I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Which is still hard. Which is still very hard to do. But
and that's I'm glad you're saying this, Casdon, because anyone listening to this who's married or even, marriage is work. It's effort. And it's great. It really is great. But it's also one of those things where we have to learn to compromise. We have to learn to do things that are uncomfortable, and we're trying to, give and take in the marriage, and sometimes that can be really tough. But at the same time, when you do it, ends up being the best thing. Just like how hard it was to be locked down in Hawaii, playing your basketball, but yet you look back on it, it's like, man, it was one of the best things we ever went through.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Right.
No, I agree 100%.
Well, that's where, I think back of you being such a hard worker as a kid and trying to keep up with your older siblings and all that stuff, how that pays off, because you are where you're at now. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but because you're a hard worker and you're willing to go, like you said, okay, Savvy, this is what we need to work on. Okay, it's uncomfortable, but okay, I'm willing to try to put in that work there. Yeah.
And I think, focusing specifically on like relationships, I think that, it's 100% natural for you to want to work on something, because we do that, she'll point something out that I need to work on, and I'll make the mental note like, hey, I need to work on that. But then anytime there's like a conflict or a fight or anything that makes you feel some type of way, it's so easy to revert back. It's
Yeah.
so easy for me to revert back to, I'm not talking about this right now. I don't want to talk about this, or I'm fine. Like, stop,
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I feel like whether that's with your friend or whether that's with your spouse, whether that's with a parent, like, I feel like it's constant work,
Yeah.
and so I think that you can even take that to a spiritual, a spiritual stance too, that like, you realize you need to be better about your relationship with your Father in heaven. Like, okay, then do the work.
Yeah.
Like, it takes work.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
you're going to be able to make these habit changes overnight,
Yeah.
and you're 100% going to trip and fall again.
Yep.
Whether that's temptation, whether that's, falling off of those good habits, like,
Yeah.
you're going to have hiccups, you're going to have, those step falls. So just giving yourself the grace of recognizing that, and continuing to get better, because
Yeah.
I know in every situation that I have in my life where I'm striving to be better, I've got my wife there 100% who
Yeah.
will understand when I have a hiccup.
Right.
And, will, as long as I'm willing to work with her on it,
Yeah,
and to,
right.
acknowledge, like, hey, I'm sorry. You're right. I know that I need to keep working on this. I messed up. I got super frustrated, and I'm sorry that I reverted back,
Right. Yeah.
But I feel like so much of it comes down to communication, which isn't natural to a lot of us.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to communicate about things that actually matter, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
sure, it's easy to talk about basketball. Yeah, I could
Yeah,
talk
all
for
night
hours
long,
and
yeah.
hours and hours, I could talk about things I'm passionate about, but
Yeah.
to be dedicated and focus on things that are uncomfortable to you, it takes work.
Takes work. Very well said. A question I have for you is, a lot of people that I've, and me, myself, when I knew basketball was over for me, my story is different than yours and how it happened. But I hear a lot of people, once, basketball was your passion, and then all of a sudden you're done. Did you struggle knowing that it was done, or were you to the point where, you know what, hey, it's run its course, I'm okay now, and now you're like in the business world and things like that. So how did you do that transition?
So my situation with how basketball came to an end has been unique, I would say. So I finished up at the University of Hawaii last year, and I was, testing all of the waters of, professional basketball and pursuing that. And, ended up being that, I had some really cool opportunities. I was invited to, NBA Combine workouts. I was invited and flown out by the Golden State Warriors to go work out at their facility with their staff, which was, it's crazy, like to be so close to like a dream that for a while you're like, this isn't actually like achievable. But then when you get there and it's like, holy cow, I'm like knocking on that door, making this happen. So, I had these workouts, I was, doing all those things. And then I had never gotten vaccinated. I still never have, I've taken it as a personal decision, and I've never felt the need personally to do so. And, at the time, discussing with my agent and things like that, it was player choice still, that it wasn't mandated you get vaccinated.
Right.
So I'm actually, in Florida with my wife and her family, and we're on a little vacation supporting her sister who was competing in a pageant competition out there. But anyways, I get a phone call from my agent, and he's like, hey, the Utah Jazz want you for NBA Summer League. And I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm at my highest of high, like, holy cow, like, this is happening. Man. Like, this is actually happening. I'm going to play an NBA Summer League in Salt Lake and Las Vegas. Like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
And they're like calling, like, they're getting my flights booked, my hotel booked. They're asking for jersey size, shoe size, all that stuff. And then I get another call about 15 minutes later, and they're like, hey, you're vaccinated, right? And I'm like, no, I could be. I'll go get it right now. Like, I'll do this, I'll do that. I was just told it wasn't a make it or break it,
Sure, yeah.
And they're like, dude, like, we're so sorry. It's usually not, but we're dealing with this new rule going into Summer League that there can only be a certain % of the team unvaccinated. We're already at that %, so we're going to have to go with somebody else.
Oh, you're kidding.
So in a matter of like 30 minutes, I go from like my highest of high, like celebrating with my wife, telling her like, yeah, I'm playing in NBA Summer League. Like, this is insane, to now I'm out. And, teams were finalized within the next couple days because, I guess I needed to have been vaccinated at the time. So at that point, I kind of fell off of a lot of teams' radars because Summer League is such a pivotal, span of time where teams realize, okay, yeah, we want him for a 2-way contract. We want him for, whatever it may be. We're gonna try and draft him late in the second, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So at that point, I kind of fell off, and then I had 3 teams who still wanted me for their G League team.
Okay.
But at that point, I just had to make decisions of what did I want, because at that point, I was going to be moving my wife to somewhere random, to pursue the G League, where once you're in the G League as solely a G League player, like, you're just chasing everything falling exactly perfectly your way for a shot,
Yeah.
And in the G League, you're not making great money. And so I was just like, man, I think I need to progress in life, like in overseas, I had a ton of different opportunities to do that, but it was kind of the same thing. Like, I've already done the out of the country experience. I lived in Brazil for 2 years. That was cool. Like, I know I could go overseas and play. So it's like, long story short, I'm still coming to terms with being done with basketball, just because it was like, I didn't feel like it was fully my decision to stop playing.
Right.
And it also wasn't, the opposite either. It wasn't like I didn't make it, like I wasn't good enough, or so I had a chance that was taken away, and that chance could have been really big, or like it could have provided closure either way. Like, it could have been like, you know what, sorry, you're not good enough, we're gonna go in a different direction. Or it could have been like, yeah, we want you for a 2-way contract, or we're gonna draft you late in the second, or early third round. So that's been bitter for me.
Sure, I bet that's been tough.
That's where I have to swallow my pride and take a piece of that humble pie, and take my own advice of control what you can control, as hard as that's been. But
isn't that amazing when you say you're going to live by a certain principle, it always gets challenged? And
absolutely,
talk about challenging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my
100%. Yeah,
I'm
100%.
over here, my heart's hurting for you.
Yeah. So oh man. And so that's been probably the highest high and the lowest low of my basketball career was within an hour of each other. Yeah. So,
well, for what it's worth, from my perspective, is for you to get that close anyways is amazing. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, that's pretty amazing. And
thanks.
Yeah. And so my hat's off to you for that as well. So, man, so what are your plans then? Like, or are you still trying to iron this out and trying to figure out what you want to do for a career? And I mean, I know you're an escrow officer right now, and maybe that's what you want to do. But is there other things that you have your mind on?
Yeah. So I mean, I got my master's degree in finance, and I got my bachelor's degree in business management. And as I was coming back from Hawaii, there weren't just I didn't want to go and be a strict financial analyst, because I'm not somebody who thrives sitting behind a desk all day. Like, yes, I do work a lot at my desk right now.
Right.
But also I do get, as an escrow officer, I'm in a lot of closings. I get to build relationships with people, which is what I'm passionate about. Like, I love sitting down with people. I love, getting a business relationship to go forward based off of a conversation that we have. I'm a salesman at heart, just because I've been selling myself my whole life, like pleading my case, pursuing, recognition, I guess, to be considered good enough. Yeah. And so that's that salesman inside of me. Yeah. Is escrow my long-term passion? Probably not. I don't know. We'll see. It could be, it could not, but I do feel like that I have the potential to do big things, whether that's in my current function right now, or if, other opportunities arise in the future as well. Like, I'm somebody who will always look into something. Sure. I'm never like, oh no, can't talk to you about it. I'll always, look into it.
Well, one thing and you probably already know this, and the effort you put into being a good basketball player, all the blood, sweat, and tears, serving a mission's no joke. I mean, that's not easy for anybody, right? you do all that. I mean, I think, is it fair to say, man, through all of that, you learn like what discipline looks like and hard work, which obviously carries over to whatever you decide to put your thoughts and passion into.
Yeah. I mean, I was dealt a very good hand in life, you know, things can always be worse. They really can.
Right.
So I'm not going to say like, oh, I made it out of the slums, or I, you know, went from poverty to where I am, because that's not the case. I've been blessed my whole life, you know. I've been, but I do think that like you have so much control over what happens in your life.
Yeah.
Yes, there are things that happen that are a result of others' poor decisions. They're a result of your poor decisions. And then sometimes there's things that we're just like, holy cow, like why did this need to happen?
Yeah.
And those are the ones that we're stumped by, and those are the ones that are the probably most difficult to deal with. But also I do believe that those are the ones that provide the greatest opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
As you were, you know, and that's where your faith really comes into play. That's where you really have to, like, you know, get down on your knees, open your heart up to, you know, to our Heavenly Father and to our Savior Jesus Christ, and give it to them, because at the, you know, thinking that you have the answers in those situations is not the way to go, and it's not gonna, you know, provide that comfort and that consolation you're looking for.
For sure. That's actually was going to be my next question is, you know, how has faith played a big part in all this for you, and why is it so important? I think you kind of explained a little bit, obviously, of it.
You know, for me, I feel like, you know, for my faith, I have a firm belief, and I truly do believe with everything that I have that there's more after this life. You know, I'm a firm believer that the decisions that my wife and I have made and continue to make will help us to stay together forever, including the family that we bring into this world.
Right.
You know, so with the struggles and the changes in the world, and good being evil and evil being good that we're seeing now more than ever, those are really the things that I fall back on that keep me steadfast in my beliefs and in my faith. I truly know that Jesus Christ lives. Like, it's not even a question to me. Like, I felt it in my lives at my lowest of lows. Like, I felt a comfort that wasn't of my own, and it wasn't of someone talking to me.
Right.
It was that someone knew exactly what I was feeling and could lift. It wasn't just like that they were listening. It was I was being lifted.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that he's real, and I know that he lives, and it really comes down to, you know, the eternal perspective of whatever I'm going through at the time, especially looking back in hindsight, because you know, it's 2020 when you're looking back on it.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's a reason for all the trials and the difficulties we go through. You know, had I not had to go through, you know, my ups and downs in basketball, like, I wouldn't have ended up with my amazing wife, who is literally everything to me.
And you met her at UVU, correct?
Met her at UVU.
She was a cheerleader.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that interesting how you ended up there, and then there's where you met the love of your life, you know, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
And so I think, you know, just being able to be, I feel like pride is the biggest problem in the world today. Everyone thinks that they're 100% right. Everyone thinks that their opinion is reality, is truth. You know,
true,
when in reality, it's like, we have to have the humility and the understanding of knowing that, like, there's a greater plan. It's there's a lot of loud voices, but the voice that we need to pay attention to the most at times is a whisper.
Yes.
And it's promptings. It's, you know, it's those feelings of it's going to be okay. It's those feelings and those that still small voice, you know, that tells you, like, you're going to get through this.
Yeah.
Or that tells you that person needs help, you know, or whatever it may be. I'm just a strong believer that we have to take the time to listen. We have to take the time to, you know, to put others before ourselves, because I feel like that's when you're going to see the most work done in yourself, is when you focus outside of yourself. You know, my wife and I, we're not perfect by any means. You know, we fight, you know, we've had struggles, but, you know, we've been humble enough to make a decision to, you know, to go to couples therapy.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
if I would have if I were to go and tell myself 5 years ago that I would be at couples therapy, I would be like, you're out of your mind if you think I'm ever doing anything like that.
Right.
But the reality of it is like, it's been so incredible to go with my spouse in good times and in bad.
Sure.
To just to grow.
Yeah.
You know, like there's been such a stigma of mental health and of, you know, mental well-being, whether that's in sports or whether that's a generational topic, you know, that like it's an incredible thing. Like there are incredible resources out there to go with those testimony builders of the gospel, of the church, of, you know, the scriptures, wherever it is you get your spiritual strength. Like there are also some people who are incredibly knowledgeable and well-versed, whether that's in personal struggles that you need to talk to somebody about, or whether that's in your marriage, or whether that's in your family, whatever it is like that. So, I mean, in a time where people are struggling with so much, it's just, I mean, I think my bottom line is control what you can control, and you know, leave it with the Lord, because if you think that you're smarter or better or understand things better, just keep thinking that, because humility's coming your way.
Yeah, typically that's what happens.
You know, humility's coming your way, and that's where at the same time, like I think that we as believers and we that are striving to do our best, regardless of the faith that you belong, like we're at a time in our lives and in a time in the world right now where we need to be examples of goodness. Like we need to be those who lift. There's enough dragging people down. There's enough there's enough of that going. There's enough division that like we just have to do everything we can to lift and to bring people up, you know, but also standing firm in there is right and wrong.
Sure.
You know, I think there's always a good line to walk, is that there's right and wrong. And as you know, as our Savior always practiced, and how he continues to preach, is you got to love the sinner, not the sin. You know, be there for people in their struggles. Don't judging someone isn't going to change anything. For
sure. Yeah.
You know, so I think that it's just been my testimonies come in flows and waves. It hasn't been like a water faucet that's just on all the time. You know, sometimes it's a trickle. Sometimes it seems like it's gone dry, and then it takes sometimes something hard in life to get you going back to what you know to be true, and to grow that faith. So I think that's kind of where my life experiences, my faith and testimony have kind of all come to be intertwined, and just, I mean, feel like I'm starting to figure things out, you know, but I'm sure as I start to figure things out, it'll be wham. Right
another
back
thing.
to him.
There's another lesson you got to learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, no, that's very well said. And obviously faith, your faith means a lot to you. And thank you for sharing that. That was very touching. You know, if there's someone listening to your voice right now that's in a dark place and they're struggling, they're just in a rough spot. Yeah. You've already given some great advice, but what's some advice you'd give that one person right now who's struggling? What would you say to them?
I think that the most important thing for that person to know, like deep down, to know 100% is that like you are a child of God. That like there is a power greater than we ever will understand. There's a love greater than we'll ever understand. There's arms outstretched always, because we are his children. Yeah. And in the times where, you know, we feel so down, so alone, so betrayed, frustrated, upset, whatever it is, that you're a child of God. Wow. An all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving, merciful, amazing God who truly does want the best for you. So don't give up. You know, keep working. Control what you can control. Let those things that you can't control just fall by the wayside, and just one foot after the other. It'll get better. It will get better.
That was powerful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dang. if there's someone who wants to reach out to you and maybe follow you or ask you a question because of this, what is the best way for them to do that?
I mean, probably Instagram is the easiest way to do that. I mean, my wife it's funny. My wife is always annoyed at, you're always talking to so many different people,
Yeah.
But I enjoy talking with people.
We're going to open up to a lot more now.
Hey, you know what? I'm happy. I really am happy to help. I'm not perfect by any means.
Yeah.
I have my struggles 100%. But yeah, I mean, my Instagram it's a funny name. It's Chef Boy Jardine. That's Chef Boy Jardine. You heard it right. It was a nickname that stuck, and you know what? I'm just gonna keep it there. But
I like
but
it.
really, if anyone ever just needs someone to talk to, like, I'm there. My wife is also an incredible person who is literally the best person I know. So feel free to follow me on Instagram or send me a message, and then if it's something that you want to talk about, we can get on a phone call. I mean, it is awesome. It is what it is. I'm happy to help and to be there for people who are going through their stuff.
Wow, I love that. And really, honestly, like now we had Savvy on, we've now had you on, and just you two are so very well spoken. You're very secure, confident. I know you're not perfect. I'm not saying that. But man, the maturity level of you two is pretty impressive.
Well, thank you.
Coming from a guy who's a lot older than you guys.
Thank you.
But to see that and just the way you look at life and your perspective already is pretty impressive.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you betcha. So
thank you.
Hey, I can't thank you enough for spending some time today.
Awesome.
This is so cool.
Thank you so much for having me. I have to give a shout out to our host here. He was my favorite Mormon message. We used to tell his story to people on my mission in the favelas of Brazil, talking about, wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, there's always changes that can be made. You can always come back, and that life is so much more than a sport. I feel like that's something that I always have taken away from your message is,
thanks.
Especially someone who's devoted so much to sports, that there's always more. There's way more to be had. There's way more to do. And the amount of good that you've done is incredible. So thanks for having me on.
Wow. I paid him to say that, by the way. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And that we talked a little bit about that off the air, and it's cool that we had that connection without even realizing it.
Yeah.
But again, the best to you and Savvy. You guys are amazing. You'll be amazing parents. I just love, again, the way you guys carry yourself. It's really, really amazing. So
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You betcha. Well, there you go, folks. I told you it was going to be another amazing episode, man. I'm telling you, if you have a son or a daughter or a niece or a nephew or a friend or a partner or a husband or a wife that's struggling, have them listen to this episode, because I think this will inspire them to realize that, hey, if you put forth the effort, and I love that you say, hey, let's just control the things you can control, leave the rest, right? And I just love that. And then how important faith is. And if you don't have a higher power, even if you want to just call it love, we have to have that. We have to have something that we can rely on that has our back. And, you said it so well, Casdon. And so once again, thank you for being here. And everyone, I love you for tuning in. Please share this like you always do. And I can't thank you enough. Until next time. Awesome.